Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We are live here on 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. Happy Wednesday, everybody. May the 8th, 2024. I know it's been a while since we've been with you here on the Extravaganza. I would apologize about last week. You got to love the internet sometimes. It just doesn't want to work the way you want it to work. And we got it back. We're fixed. And we're back ready here on 12 Ounce Sports. It's a great time of year if you're a sports fan. If you love hockey, the Stanley Cup Playoffs are in their second round. And we got some great matchups we're going to talk about. Some interesting ones in the first round, obviously. And some things change and some things stay the same. And that, of course, the Toronto Maple Leafs losing a Game 7, losing to the Boston Bruins. Tough one to swallow if you're a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. They were the only ones in my book. I went 7 for 8 in the opening round predictions of the Stanley Cup playoffs, but they're done. Boston moves on, and we've got two great conference semifinal matchups in the Stanley Cup in each division, or each conference, rather. So, yeah, some great matchups. The second round already started. We've had some overtime games. We'll talk about that a little bit later on as well. The NBA playoffs, of course, we don't talk a whole lot about the NBA, but the second round playoffs, this is where it gets fun. If you're an NBA fan, it's a lot of fun. I don't spend a whole lot of time on the NBA throughout the year. I don't get a chance to watch it with everything else that we highlight here on the show with football and hockey, ACHA, whatnot. But we got some intriguing matchups and a potential changing of the guard as far as one of the top players in all of the NBA, and he's proven it here in the second round. That's the Ant-Man. And I tell you, he's really done a number on the Denver Nuggets. So we'll talk a little bit about that later on. Major League Baseball, we'll take a quick look at the standings. Our Detroit Tigers looking okay, getting swept by the New York Yankees this past weekend, trying to bounce back to take 2 out of 3 from the front-running Cleveland Guardians in the AL Central. We'll talk about all the. We'll go through the standings after 6 weeks of the Major League Baseball season. So make sure you stick around for that. The NBA, or the NFL rather, they've got their schedule release coming up next week. Another, one of the fun things that we like to go through here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza. So we'll take, obviously that's a week away. We'll kind of touch on that a little bit, who we think should go where or whatever. And we'll take one last look at the 2024 NFL draft. We weren't here last week to go over it. What a great time it was in Detroit. They put on one heck of a show. 750,000 plus for the 3-day event. Even the third round, getting 250,000 people in downtown Detroit. They put on a show. There was no incidents. Really, it was just an amazing, amazing event for the NFL. Detroit really came through with flying colors, represented themselves so well. And it was an exciting time. For a Lions fan, a long-suffering Detroit fan here, it was a sight to see everybody. Detroit gets put down, the murder capital of the world, whatnot. It's been a long, long drought for the Detroit Lions, well documented. We've talked about it a long time, but I think the Lions fans came out, and all the NBA fans, or the NFL fans rather, but the Detroit fans came out en masse. And they showed that Detroit definitely is a football town. So, again, a lot to talk about here on the show tonight. Glad you could be with us here on 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. Want to remind everybody that the show tonight is being brought to you by Javi Coffee. Javi Coffee is your place to go. If you like instant coffee, or if you like coffee in general, I highly, highly recommend you check out javicoffee.com. It's instant coffee with a twist. It's not the grounds or whatever. It's quick. It's very easy to use. It's clean. You take a teaspoon or two, however you want, hot or cold. That's javicoffee.com. You can get regular, decaf, salted caramel, French vanilla, Irish cream, whatever. The French vanilla is amazing. I really like that. And again, go to javicoffee.com, and when you go to checkout, use the promo code Captain Lou, and you'll get 15% off of your purchase. It's that simple. That's javicoffee.com. And of course, we're brought to you, as always, by tickets.12ouncesports.com. Again, we are your ticket broker. We're not a secondary market, so you don't get the fees that you'll see on some of them other secondary markets. Any game you want to go to, Stanley Cup playoffs, full swing, NBA playoffs, Major League, minor league baseball, you name it, NASCAR, whatever. Go to tickets.12ouncesports.com and use the promo code 12ounce as well, and you'll get that extra added bonus on top of it, a discount, if you will. That's tickets.12ouncesports.com. Hey, and we're going to go to break here in a little bit, but I kind of also want to remind you of our new show that we started here on the network here on 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. Captain Lou's Championship Years in Sports History. We debuted the show last night. We had a great interview. What the concept of the show, by the way, is we take each month, we pick a year, a calendar year. It could be anyone. We're going to stick from like the mid 70s to the present, kind of following my guidelines from when I really started to follow sports. And we take that year and we try to get the championship teams or individuals, depending on the sport, and we get them on the show. And we get players, personalities that covered the teams and whatnot. Last night was our debut on Tuesday, and we had 1984 as the year that we highlight this month here in May. And we had Fred Heumann, longtime sports personality in the Detroit and Lansing, Michigan area, Flint, talking about the 1984 Detroit Tigers. It was an amazing conversation. You can check it out on our YouTube pages on 12 Ounce Sports or the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. We invite you, by the way, to subscribe to both channels for all of our content. And it was a great conversation talking about Sparky Anderson, talking about the run that the Tigers had, the drought that they endured really throughout the 1970s, how they worked their way up, getting better, and then that run starting out 35-5 and then getting that World Series championship. But great conversation with Fred Heumann. He's a Channel 10 sports anchor in Lansing, but again, covered the Detroit area for many, many years. And his stories and tales of Sparky Anderson and some of the players that he was able to, come in contact with off of that Detroit Tigers team. We invite you to check out that conversation. It will be replayed throughout the week. Check out the listings on 12ouncesports.com. It'll be on my social media platforms as you can, again, follow us on X. On it says it right there on the bottom of the screen. But our new show debuted, the Captain Lou's Championship Years in Sports History show. It's going to be every Tuesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern time, right here on 12 Ounce Sports. And again, repeated throughout the week. And next week, we're going to be highlighting the Edmonton Oilers, 1984 Stanley Cup champions. And Steve Lansky, who was a producer for numerous outlets for the Edmonton Oilers throughout the years back in the 80s. He was front and center. You talk about a fun conversation. It's you're going to enjoy that one next Tuesday. It's going to be, again, 7 o'clock Eastern time. We're going to go through the run that the Edmonton Oilers had. So that's the concept of the show. We think you'll enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. And each month we're going to pick a new year. We're going to go on Twitter and on Facebook and give you the option to participate on what year you would like us to highlight on that show each month. So a great concept, Captain Lou's Championship Years in Sports History. That's what we're going to talk about. All right. Excuse me. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to talk a little Stanley Cup hockey. Round 2 of the Stanley Cup playoffs are getting started, and they've gotten started. And we had a dandy couple of games last night. We'll talk about it right here and more. You're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza. It's live right here on 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. Hi, everybody. Captain Lou here from 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Extravaganza. If you're like me, you like to go to ball games in person, don't you? Or a hockey game. Stanley Cup playoffs are in full swing. Your favorite NBA team in the second round of the playoffs, or maybe all the way to the top. Major League or minor league baseball, nothing like a Saturday night game at a ballpark. Well, your place to go is tickets.12ouncesports.com. Use the promo code 12ounce too, and you'll get a better discount. We are a ticket broker. We won't make you pay those fees that you'll see at some of those secondary markets. tickets.12ouncesports.com. Can't say enough about it. It's where I go to get my last-minute tickets to go to a ball game on a Saturday night or any night during the week. Tickets.12ouncesports.com. I'm telling you, that is the place to go. Stanley Cup Playoffs, NBA Playoffs, Major League, Minor League Baseball, and more. That's tickets.12ouncesports.com. Hey, who was that masked man? Again, like I said, tickets.12ouncesports.com as your place to go for any ticket that you want. Not only for professional sports, if there's a Broadway show you want to go to, anything. That's tickets.12ouncesports.com. Again, welcome everybody to the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. As we talked at the top of the show, Stanley Cup Playoffs, they're underway. The second round is underway, and we already knee deep. I think there's only one series that is yet to start, and that's going to be tonight. That's Edmonton and Vancouver, which is going to prove to be an amazing series as well. But they got started last night, or actually on Monday, I believe, with the New York Rangers and the Carolina Hurricanes. New York won the opening game in that one to go up 1-0. And then last night, Carolina jumped out to a 2-1 lead. Then after regulation time, it was 3-3. They went to double overtime, and the Hurricanes fell to the New York Rangers 4-3 in double overtime. Trocheck got the game-winning goal in double overtime. The New York Rangers, the Blue Shirts, the President's Cup Trophy team, now up 2-0 in that best-of-7 series. It's going to shift over to Carolina now for games 3 and 4. And the must-win scenario now really lies on the Carolina Hurricanes. If they can, they win Friday night, or they win their next game, I believe it's tomorrow night. Obviously, they're back in it. But you obviously want to try to steal one on home ice, and they couldn't do it. So the Carolina Hurricanes now down a 2-0 hole against the New York Rangers. Rangers looking good. I mean, the way they dispatched of the Washington Capitals made that look so easy in the opening round of the playoffs. But again, they're looking really, really good in the second round of the playoffs. Taking on a Carolina team that took care of the New York Islanders. They had a little more of a tough time than the Rangers had. But Carolina now in an 0-2 hole, coming back home. If they can hold serve, get a couple of games at home, get the momentum back, going back to New York for game 5 potentially. But I'll tell you what, it is all setting up now for a great, great series. But the Rangers, they've got the commanding 2-0 lead in that series. So that'll be fun to watch in game 3. Last night, also the opening game in the conference semifinal out west between Colorado and Dallas. Colorado gets home ice advantage already with a big overtime win over the Dallas Stars. Dallas obviously coming off a very, very brutal 7-game series with the Vegas Golden Knights, winning that one. And Colorado dispatching of Winnipeg. And who would have thought Colorado, they lost that opening game 7-6, I believe it was, to Winnipeg. But the way they manhandled Winnipeg, I picked Colorado. I've got Colorado going all the way. They remember what happened last year. They're going to be a tough out. They're getting confidence. If they get any kind of goaltending, which they got last night in that overtime win, they're going to be tough. And now they've stolen home ice advantage from the Dallas Stars. We'll see what they do tomorrow night in game 2. But that's going to be a huge, huge matchup. And boy, if they can win on home ice, they could really take control of the series. But remember, though, the Dallas Stars lost their first 2 games to the Golden Knights and were able to come back and win that series. So I know if you're Colorado, you're feeling pretty good if you're a Colorado fan. I know Dave Kurtz, a good friend of mine, huge Colorado Avalanche fan. They're feeling good, but they can't let up on the gas pedal, obviously. This Dallas team isn't going to go away quietly. Again, down an 0-2 hole in the opening round at home against Vegas, come back and win. But I think this Colorado team is just a little bit better than Vegas. But you spot them a 2-0 lead. It's going to be awful, awful difficult to come back and win in 7 games. So that's a monument. I would say that game, that game 2 at Dallas is going to be a must-win scenario for the Dallas Stars. They don't win that one, I don't see them coming back from 2 straight 0-2 holes to win that contest. So It's a big matchup. I took Colorado before the series started. I think they've got the mojo. My 4 picks. Let me get this out of the way right now and it's posted on my Facebook page, Lewis Gamblin, just in case you don't think so. I picked Carolina. They're down 0-2. I picked Colorado. I picked Florida. They're down 0-1. We'll talk about that in a moment. And I also picked Edmonton. They start their series tonight. So big matchup tomorrow night in game 2 between Colorado and Dallas to keep, Dallas has got to win that one. They've got to get the goaltending back. They had decent goaltending, but they got to find their scoring power or else they're going to go down 0-2 and it could be Katie by the door in that series. Going back to the Eastern Conference, we talked about it. Boston, they dispatched of Toronto in 7 games. They had a 3-1 lead against the Maple Leafs, lost game 5, lost game 6. Toronto had all the momentum. Then they were able to hang on and beat Toronto in overtime, were the Boston Bruins in 7 games. Then they went down to Florida, and they won game 1. Now they've got home ice. You talk about a monster matchup coming up. Florida has got to get the equalizer tomorrow night. They go down 0-2, or maybe it's tonight. Can't remember. They go down 0-2, going back to Boston. Forget about it. Boston's. I had picked Florida to go to the Stanley Cup Finals, and I still think they can do it. They're going to have to win one at Boston now, obviously, because they've lost home ice. It was 1-1, and Boston just went nuts in the second period in game 1. Got to hand it to the Bruins. They're finding ways to do it. And again, Swayman. What can you say about him in goal for the Boston Bruins? He has played so well. I mean, the way they stymied Toronto in the opening round series, and they were doing goaltending by committee in the opening round of that one. But now they've got the upper hand. Game 2 in Florida. I think it's a must-win too for Florida. They've got to at least split and try to steal one. It's Boston's proven they can be beaten at home in the playoffs. Toronto did it. I think Florida can do it. But I'll tell you what, going up there down 0-2 is going to be such a big mountain to climb as opposed to it being a 1-1 scenario with Boston and with Boston on their home ice. So again, a must-win situation for Florida in game 2 coming up in that best-of-7 series. And then we talked about the series that is about to start, the opening game tonight, Edmonton and Vancouver. Edmonton looked pretty good against the LA Knights. And get the pro wrestling on my mind. The LA Kings, where Vancouver dispatched of the Nashville Predators. Congratulations to Vancouver. I had them picked to go 7. I got to tell you, getting that come from behind win in Nashville when they were down 3-0 and winning it in overtime, absolutely incredible, that comeback. Hats off to them. Now they've got an Edmonton team. I'm kind of secretly pulling for Edmonton, because for one person only, it's Kenny Holland. I would love, since the Red Wings aren't in the Stanley Cup playoffs, I wouldn't mind seeing Kenny Holland winning a cup with Edmonton. The amount of abuse that he took towards the end of his tenure here in Detroit, and then, of course, now getting, the players that he's gotten up in Edmonton. Here's another scenario. If they can get any type of goaltending at all, I think they can make a run, and they're going to give Colorado all they want should both teams advance, according to my picks anyways. But I just love that comment. Who wouldn't love Draisaitl and McDavid? But they played pretty good defensively against LA, won the low-scoring games that they had to win, and now it's Vancouver. Vancouver, the upstarts. Again, we talked about it all year here on the network, on the program. If you would have told me Vancouver was going to win that division, I figured that was Edmonton's going away. If you'd have told me Vancouver is going to win that division, I'd have said you're nuts. Well, here we go. It's Edmonton. It's going to be one heck of a series. It's going to be fun to watch if you can stay up late. Now, fortunately for me tonight, I don't have to get up early. I'm not working my normal job tomorrow. So I'm going to try my best to stay up and watch some of that game because I think it's going to be a dandy. So it's going to be a great series. Second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs are just loaded with great matchups. Florida and Boston, a rivalry renewed from last year, where Florida came back from a 3-1 deficit as the worst qualifying team in the playoffs, going all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals. You got New York with the Rangers in Carolina. New York trying to get back to the Stanley Cup Finals for the first time since OJ had his Bronco chase, or winning the Stanley Cup since OJ and the Bronco chase back 30 years ago. Then in the West, again, you got Edmonton and Vancouver. Oh, that's setting up to be a phenomenal series. And then you've got the matchup with Colorado and Dallas, an overtime thriller to start things off. Colorado gaining home ice advantage. Absolutely amazing. Just really, as a hockey fan, there's nothing better. A sports fan, there's nothing better than the Stanley Cup playoffs, and we are enjoying some great matchups. And before we go to break, want to again talk a little bit about we touched on Toronto getting knocked out in the opening round of the playoffs again. You know, the drought continues. It's been 57 years now since the Maple Leafs have won a Stanley Cup. I don't know when it's been since they've been to the conference finals or the Stanley Cup finals at all. I think back in the 90s. So it's been a long time, a generation. Now the question begs, press conference has been pushed ahead, or end of the year press conference to Friday. Is Brendan Shanahan, is the Shanahan plan going to be done? Is Sheldon Keefe going to be fired? What's going to happen in Toronto? You've got finger pointing, everything. You know, they're the hub. Toronto is the media hub for the NHL. If they let Keefe go, who's going to be there? Is it going to be Craig Berube? What's going to happen? It's going to be very, very interesting. It's going to be an interesting tell on Friday. My gut feeling is Keefe is gone. He's done. They're going to move on, because you know how it works. The players don't get fired. The coaches get fired. Just ask LeBron. We'll talk about that after the break, by the way. But yeah, it's going to be a very, 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 very interesting Friday when it comes to press conference time up in Toronto for the Maple Leafs. What direction do they go here? Something's got to change. And it's just the talent they've had over the years, underachieving, it's absolutely amazing. And it'd be different if they were perennial bottom feeders, but they're not. You know, one of the best teams money could buy, right? You know, they're in salary cap hell. I get it. But when is it all going to come to fruition? The 69-goal scorer, Austin Matthews, whatever. You know, it's just are they going to try to get some type of goaltending? Who knows? But yeah, we got to wait to see what finds out or what goes on up in Toronto. All right, we're going to put the puck away. We're going to get out the basketball and the baseball and whatnot as we continue on. You're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza, and it's live right here on 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. Hi, everybody. Captain Lou here from 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Extravaganza. If you're like me, you like to go to ball games in person, don't you? Or a hockey game. Stanley Cup playoffs are in full swing. Your favorite NBA team in the second round of the playoffs, or maybe all the way to the top. Major League or minor league baseball, nothing like a Saturday night game at a ballpark. Well, your place to go is tickets.12ouncesports.com. Use the promo code 12ounce too, and you'll get a better discount. We are a ticket broker. We won't make you pay those fees that you'll see at some of those secondary markets. Tickets.12ouncesports.com. Can't say enough about it. It's where I go to get my last-minute tickets to go to a ball game on a Saturday night or any night during the week. Tickets.12ouncesports.com. I'm telling you, that is the place to go. Stanley Cup playoffs, NBA playoffs, Major League, minor league baseball, and more. That's tickets.12ouncesports.com.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money. And we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. And again, we also want to tell you quickly about the other sponsor here on the show, as always, longtime sponsor, Javi Coffee. Go to javicoffee.com if you like instant coffee or coffee in general, like me. You know, I'm a self-proclaimed coffee junkie. Then go to javicoffee.com. It's instant coffee at its finest. You can get regular, decaf, all the different flavors, salted caramel, French vanilla, Irish cream, so many great flavors. It's so simple to use too. It's very, you don't have to worry about coffee grounds or anything. You take a couple of teaspoons, put it in your coffee, hot or cold, however you prefer it. That's javicoffee.com. Check out the website. And when you go there and you get your purchase, don't forget at checkout, use the promo code Captain Lou, all one word. And you'll get 15% off of your purchase. That is javicoffee.com. Again, we're here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza on this Wednesday, just smack dab in the middle of Stanley Cup playoff action. And of course, the NBA playoffs are now in their second round as we got some interesting conference semifinal matchups getting underway already. The Pacers and the Knicks. The Knicks lead that one game to none, thanks in part to some brutal calls in that opening round series. But again, it's kind of neat to see the Pacers and the Knicks getting back in a second round playoff matchup, or, you know, maybe we'll see it in future years down closer to the conference finals. Brings back memories again of 30 years ago when the Knicks did go to the finals with some of their series, those knockdown dragouts against the Indiana Pacers. So Knicks and Pacers, that's going to be a fun series. Knicks with a 1-0 lead, as we mentioned. They've got the home court advantage. Game 2 will be tonight at 8 o'clock as well. And also in the Eastern Conference, the Celtics and the Cavaliers in their semifinal matchup. Celtics doing, beating the Heat, and the Cavaliers with their big win over Orlando in Game 7. Celtics winning big last night thanks to the 3-ball. They're up 1-0. Game 2 will be tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. In the West, you got the Thunder and the Mavericks. The Thunder, the young up-and-comers, they've got the best record in the Western Conference, if you can believe that. So they've got the opening round matchup. They lead they're going to look for Game 2 tomorrow night. They won last night going away against the Dallas Mavericks. They're for real. But I think the most fun team to watch right now has got to be the Minnesota Timberwolves. They went into Denver, and took 2 from the defending champions, and they have got the Nuggets on the ropes. Anthony Edwards is the man. That's all I can say. You know, again, I profess I haven't watched a lot of NBA games. I watch them more towards the end of the year. It's like anything else. If you're not a true fan, you know, it's a long season, just like the NHL. I agree. First and foremost, full disclosure, but I've watched him now, and I'll tell you what, boy, it's amazing. I kept hearing, the commentators and whatever, the so-called talking heads say how much he reminds them of a second coming of Michael Jordan by his form. And, it's incredible, his shot. And, it's refreshing to see. And now the Timberwolves are going to be a force to be reckoned with. I don't know what Denver's going to do. Denver's starting 5 is probably still, I think, the best in the NBA, but their bench isn't as deep as Minnesota, and it's showing. And they're big, they're fast, and they're quick, and they're talented. And when you got 2 or 3 7-footers on the Joker, and Jamal Murray's been absent, I got to tell you, Minnesota's going to win this series. I thought Denver had a good shot at repeating, but Minnesota's taken a stranglehold in this. 2-0, going home. This could be crazy. If you'd have told me the Nuggets were going to get swept, I'd have said, you're nuts. I'd have bet anything against that. Now, they probably will win a game in Minnesota. Their backs are against the wall, are the Nuggets. We'll see what they do now in Game 3 coming up. That's going to be on Friday at 9:30. And so that's going to be a very, very interesting matchup. So 1 game tonight in the second round of the NBA playoffs. It's going to be the Pacers and the Knicks. It's going to be 8 o'clock Eastern time. So that's going to be a fun matchup to watch as well. And so, again, the NBA, this is where it gets good for me. I don't watch a lot of basketball. I didn't watch a lot of college basketball over the years. I've gotten, with football and then with hockey, that takes up a lot of my attention, especially with the amount that I cover with the ACHA. So again, I'm full disclosure here. I don't profess to be any kind of expert. I'm not really an expert at anything. I'm just a sports fan like you guys are, but I watch more hockey and I watch more football. But this is where I really like to sit down and watch the NBA. I read a lot of articles, try to stay up on it. With my son, my old tag team partner here on the show, he's big into the NBA, so I try to keep up. And again, the other reason is when you've got such a doormat of a franchise right now in Detroit, it's embarrassing. Detroit, again, with the worst record in the NBA. I don't know if that's going to mean anything by getting the number 1 pick in the draft. Who cares? They can't do anything with it anyways. Detroit. I've never been a part. I have been a part of some bad franchises here in the Detroit area over the years. I look at, we talk about the 70s when all 4 Detroit teams had losing records. I think the best team was the Lions at 7-7 back when they only played 14 games. Look at the 90s. The Red Wings were up and coming, but you had the Pistons fell off the face of the earth. The Lions were okay. The Tigers were abysmal. Or even in the 2000s where but the Pistons have been bad for so long. There's no direction. Now they hired a new president. Now the talk out of the Detroit area, which I just don't see happening, but will they let Monty Williams go after 1 year? Will they just cut him a check? He's got a guaranteed contract. He's got $70 million left. But either they've tuned him out already or he was overrated in Philadelphia or Phoenix. I don't know. But oh my goodness. You talk about a crap team. That's our Detroit Pistons here. And there's no hope in sight. So I don't know. Maybe that's part of the reason why I don't follow the NBA as much. Not really a big fan of the game like I used to be. It's just in the amount of whining and complaining about every call. It's unwatchable. And a perfect example of that are the Lakers. LeBron's not a bad guy. He's never really been in trouble. But here's my question to you. All right. They get beaten by the defending national or world champion Denver Nuggets. Last year, they got swept, in the conference finals by the Nuggets. Darvin Ham took that team that had a losing record, took them to the finals. This year, they get knocked out in the first round. And you got LeBron and you got AD bitching, saying that he's lost control. His message is lost, whatever. So guess, as is with every sport, once you get to the professional level, players don't get fired. LeBron snaps his finger. Guess what? Darvin Ham's out. He's gone. Well, again, don't mind that he took that team that was in disarray, supposedly after Frank Vogel got let go, and now he gets fired 2 years later. So here's my question. This will be LeBron's 10th coach in his 20th year, whatever. Here's a guy that wanted Eric Spoelstra fired. What coach worth their salt would want to go coach the Lakers, even if they're available? It's a pipe dream. He wants Tyronn Lue back. He's going to get an extension with the Clippers. Why would Lue want to go back there and subject himself to be a LeBron puppet? And it looks like, the story out there is it looks like it could be JJ Redick. Are you kidding me? That's LeBron's buddy. Why not? Why not do it? Why don't you just get his producer to be an assistant coach of that podcast? Absolutely amazing. So, yeah, here we go. The saga continues in LA. The Lakers. Who would want to coach LeBron? That's what I want to know. Who would want to coach him? Oh, boy. All right, let's switch gears here. We wrap things up here on the show here quickly. The Major League Baseball coming up here 6 weeks into the season. We're going to take a quick look at the standings here in Major League Baseball as we kind of look at it here. Baltimore, no surprise here. They win 23, or they're up 23-12 on the campaign. They're tied with the Yankees right now at 24-13, and tied for first place. Then you got the Red Sox at 19-17, kind of hovering around the 500 mark. Tampa Bay right there as well. Obviously the best division in all of the American League. But the upstart team in the American League, the Cleveland Guardians, and they took 2 out of 3 from the Detroit Tigers, winning this afternoon. The Tigers blowing a 4-2 lead, losing 5-4 in extras. So, so Cleveland now with a 3-game lead in the American League Central. Minnesota at 20-15, Kansas City 21-16. Tigers 1 game over 500, 19-18. And then the White Sox, 8-28. Our Tigers, they could get any kind of hitting, and then when they do, the pitching fails. They win last night 11-7. Their bullpen is still pretty good for the most part. But boy, when you don't get the hitting after a while, it just, and again, some of the players on the team, absolutely crazy. In the West, the Texas Rangers now, they're back. They're on top 21-16. What's happened to the Houston Astros at 12-23? Absolutely incredible. There, it's still a lot of time left in the year. I get it. They've got too good a talent to really do that. So in the National League, the Phillies are now on top of the Braves. The Phillies have won 7 straight. Oh, by the way, let's give the Minnesota Twins their flowers with that big winning streak. They had 13 straight. They're now just 3 games out of first place with the Cleveland Guardians, 8-2 in their last 10. But the Phillies, best record in Major League Baseball, 26 up, 11 down, winning 7 straight. They now have a 3-game lead over the Atlanta Braves, who kind of stumbled a little bit after their hot start. Then you've got the Washington Nationals over 500. Wow. Didn't see that one coming. Now, again, it's only 35 games. Then you got the Mets at 500. Then the Marlins stinking the joint up at 10-26 or 10-28. The Brewers and the Cubs tied for first, 7 games over 500 apiece. Then you've got the Reds 5 games back, under 500 at 16-19. Then in the West, the Dodgers, they've won 6 straight. Now they're 12 games over 500. A huge lead in that division already, 6.5 over San Diego. The Dodgers, the only team over 500. So kind of a quick look at Major League Baseball right there. All right, quickly, as we wrap things up here tonight, the NFL, they've got their schedule release coming up next Wednesday. Always a fun time for us here on the show. Obviously, it'll be released after our show next week. So 2 weeks from now, we will dissect that schedule. Can't wait to see it. How many national games are our Detroit Lions going to get? Who's going to start out on Monday Night Football? Who's going to play on Christmas? Who's going overseas? All of that. All we know right now is that the Packers and the Eagles are going to open up in Brazil on that weekend on Friday night. So that's going to be a week from Wednesday, the schedule release. And then so in 2 weeks, we'll make sure to get you updated. We'll give you a complete breakdown of who gets the early flowers and who we think might have got jobbed with what the schedule looks like. All I know from a Detroit perspective is the Lions only have 3 games outside on the road all year. Packers, Bears, and the 49ers. So interesting little tidbit there. The NFL draft was a couple of weeks ago. We talked about it at the top. The biggest surprise, obviously, is Michael Penix Jr. going to the Falcons. Great talent. I've sung his praises all year. I think he's a good quarterback. But interesting situation coming up in Atlanta. That's for sure. With the NFL, with Kirk Cousins getting all that money, going there thinking that he was going to be the man. Well, he will be to start, but is this going to be another situation where he's looking over his shoulder? And so that's going to be an interesting dynamic there in Atlanta. Some great fun there with the draft, as we mentioned. Kudos to Detroit for putting on one hell of a show. It really was a lot of fun to watch. 750,000 plus for 3 days in Detroit, and it went off without a hitch. Kudos to the city of Detroit. kudos to the NFL. And again, NFL is king. They showed it, their ratings on TV better than the NBA playoffs and Stanley Cup playoffs, Major League Baseball. Absolutely amazing. But that is the NFL. All right, everybody, that's going to do it here for another episode of the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We want to thank everybody for checking us out. A reminder of our brand new show that we have here on 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube, Captain Lou's Championship Years in Sports History. We had our premiere episode yesterday. It'll be replayed throughout the week. Check the local listings here on 12 Ounce Sports when you can catch it. The concept of it, we take a new year each month, and each week in that month, we will highlight championship teams, or in the case of maybe a Masters champion or boxing, whatever, we will talk about that person. We will get members of those championship teams, personalities that covered, coaches, you name it. We started it out with the 1984 this month of May, and Fred Human, longtime sports personality in the Detroit area, now here in Lansing, stopped on by, and we talked about the 1984 Detroit Tigers. Next week on Tuesday, we are going to talk about the Edmonton Oilers with Steve Lansky, longtime producer of Edmonton Oiler hockey in the Edmonton area back then in the 80s and 90s. So it was a great conversation. We hope you will enjoy it. All right, everybody, enjoy the hockey, enjoy the basketball, whatever it is you like, enjoy all the sports, and above all, be safe. Captain Lou saying, keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving, and as always, keep your minds open. Thanks for joining us here on 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network for another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza.